Gustav Nylund with the Merfolk deck. Both players has been on stream and both players won their respective matches. So this could be an interesting match.
It could indeed, and this is a little bit different than the previous game from the Merfolk point of view, because Elves consists a lot of creatures, just like goblins. But
Elves has the combo finish as well,
Yeah.
that you need to respect as the Merfolk player.
you do.
So you might need to save your Force of Wills or Daces for the Natural Order or Glimpse of Nature from the Elves deck.
Yep.
And you could easily get overrun by the Elves deck while doing so. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup, and I believe the Elf deck might be favored here.
That's my first feeling as well, without
Yeah.
analyzing too much. It feels
Yeah.
like Elves have an edge here.
Yeah. So, given that the Elves can combo and has a lot of tools to find its combo, and so makes it able to just, well, beat down and finish the game in an effective manner. The Merfolk player really needs to get a lot of board presence and stop the combo in order to deal with this game.
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. They need to have a clock going,
Yep.
and probably some disruption as well.
All the Merfolk's creatures are gonna get to be bigger than the Elves' creatures, but Elf players' creatures. But well, you still need to find all the right pieces.
Yeah, and Merfolk tends to play out 2, 3, maybe 4 creatures, while Elves can play
Yeah,
infinite amount.
we saw a turn there where he dropped something like 6 or 7 creatures in a turn,
Yeah,
just generating mana as he went on and played more and more. The Merfolk player is not really able to have an explosive turn like that unless he plays something like Marrow Regery, but
Yeah.
it comes so much later on in the game at any rate, even if you play a card like that. So it's difficult for the Merfolk player to be as explosive, but you instead have more power on your each individual pieces once they stick on the board.
yeah, I agree. And once again, a turn 1 Ether Vial would of course be very, very much preferred.
Yeah, indeed. Eidevile is a really good card for the Merfolk deck, as it makes you able to produce several threats every turn and able to do things in instant speed that you're unable to do otherwise. So this is
One interesting thing here could be, as previously mentioned, in the Merfolk versus Goblin matchup, both players played with main deck Chalice of the Void.
Yeah.
An early Chalice for 1 against Elves is pretty good.
Yes, very true. A Chalice for 1 is difficult for the Elves deck since he plays a lot of 1-mana spells. A lot of them. But the Elf player being on the play here and getting to cast a lot of his 1-drops already makes the Chalice, well, the finishing spells aren't necessarily 1-drops.
No. He's gone. He's got out a few elves, or well, an insect and an elf, and he's already going. The Chalice will of course still be good, but not devastating.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Chalice will shut down a lot of Mikael's deck if it comes down. And Gustav doesn't seem to have it, as he opts to Daze instead. And he has the turn 2 Aether Vial, which is not quite as good, but it's still a very effective card when you play Daze in your deck. Resetting your own mana a bit and being able to produce threats through Aether Vial while playing your free spells as in Daze is really big.
Yeah.
So,
That's a Pendelhaven. All right.
yeah. Mikael is going the bit more aggressive route here, attacking for damage actually.
Good old spider beatdown, 2/3s.
Oh yeah. That was during the Ice Age area.
Yeah. One can never forget Ulle Råde's deck from I don't know when, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Pro Tour winning, I believe.
Yep.
Making sure he had good matchups against Swords to Plowshares and Pyroclasms that were the big removal in the deck in the format.
Yeah.
Playing 2/3s and Shroud creatures.
Yeah, which turned out to be awesome. It just countered the meta.
Oh, for sure.
Giant trapdoor spider and woolly spider.
Oh, those were the days. The days of Magic past. So Gustav going on the aggression with his Curse Catcher there. Mikael doesn't really have much of a aggression going. He can come in for a few points of damage, but as the combo deck here, I would really hope to see some more
development.
Yeah.
Now Gustav has a Lord and he has the very important two counters on the vial.
Yeah, and he has the 3rd mana for his True Name Nemesis in his hand.
Yep.
So we might just see a True Name Nemesis slammed down here, and hoping that it can offset the entire board of Mikael. Yeah, Lord of Atlantis coming through here. Mikael could possibly fetch out an Dryad Arbor and block pumping it with Pendelhaven, but he has to respect the Aether Vial activation, so he opts not to do it.
Yeah.
Because if any Lord came down through Aether Vial, you'd just be...
Then you would just be jumping.
Yeah. Both screwing yourself in a land and throwing away a creature that could be important for a potential Gaia's Cradle later on.
Yeah, over the years it has grown on me how very important Dryad Arbor is for the Elves deck.
Oh yes.
It does so much, being both a land and a creature.
Yeah, it's basically a Soul Ring in some cases.
Oh yeah.
If you green Unseen it for it turn 1 and has the Gaia's Cradle, it generates 2 mana. So it's really good and really important in many cases. Mikael going for the Natural Order, but it gets Force of Will, so Gustav is in a pretty good position here to just keep going. So I believe that Gustav might be able to just... Oh, and there's the Chalice for 1.
Oh, here it comes.
That's big.
Yeah, now when he has established...
Only facing down a single Deathrite Shaman, this is a huge board for Gustav. Mikael is up against the ropes here and needs to find something fairly quickly in order to deal with this. So, well, the assumption was that the Elves player was favored, but, well, Magic is nothing is for sure, so anything can happen. Mikael can possibly still get his 1-drops into play. Tries to resolve a Heritage Druid, but it gets countered by the Chalice. But he could possibly find a 1-drop through Green Sun Zenith, as it has a higher casting cost when X is paid. And Mikael is now going for the Dryad Arbor play, I believe. Yeah, fetching up the Dryad Arbor, trying to block and pump with Pendelhaven. Let's see if it goes through. It does. But Mikael is at 3 life, so a single attack from the True Name will still bring him down.
Yeah. And this game has gone back and forth. Mikael opened really great, but then his he had a shortage of creatures and spells, and Gustav just took advantage of that and created a board and up the counters on Eidvial, and finally the chalice came down. So
Yeah, and that chalice is really the nail in the coffin, making a lot of Mikael's draw steps into blanks.
yeah,
So, the Merfolk player might be taken down in this game. It looks promising, but the Deathrite is keeping pace with the true name a bit, gaining back some life and making sure that Mikael is still in it. So it's not quite over, even though it's very difficult for Mikael to get through this. And I'm not sure, did this Nettle Sentinel resolve through the chalice?
yeah, that's seems
Yeah.
a bit odd.
Alright.
But
So-
that is a trigger that you, as the
Yeah.
owner of the chalice, have to remember.
Yes, it is. It's up to Gustav to remember the chalice trigger. So, if he misses it and Mikael just slams a one drop, then it's gonna resolve, even though it shouldn't, perhaps.
And that is one very important thing to remember when you're facing chalice.
Yeah,
When a lot of things seem hopeless,
Yeah.
you still have to try your opponent. And
exactly. And it's when you play a card like chalice, you often have to think about your opponent trying to trick you as well,
yeah,
because it's very easy to just assume that they won't play anything into it.
yeah.
Given that should probably stop everything. But it's that's not the case. It's in a competitive format like this, you need to
Try and
always-
find every angle.
yeah, and keep track of your own triggers at
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah,
So Mikael is going on the aggression, presenting lethal next turn, I believe. Yeah, and Green Sun Zenith for a lot here. For 3? 2 perhaps? Yeah, for 2 I think. Perhaps getting an Elvish Visionary or Scavenging Ooze.
oh yeah.
Scavenging Ooze would be really great here.
Yeah.
Both gaining back the life and producing a big threat for Gustav to deal with.
And he has 2 mana available, right? In the Deathrite and the Bayou.
Yeah.
So he can gain few life this turn, which probably prevents him from dying from the true name. But if Gustav has a lord here, no, it wouldn't do that much because it would just be blocked. So yeah, he buys himself a turn most likely here.
Yes, and it's really well played by Mikael to grind this out, even though he's facing down a true name, finding all these angles to just deal with an opposing board state. And that Dryad Arbor fetch blocking the Lord of Atlantis was really big.
Yeah, that
That was important, I believe.
in the turning around of this game.
Yeah.
Once again, it looks like the game is in Mikael's favor, but it has already turned a few
Yeah.
times. So
It was in Gustav's favor just a few moments ago, and suddenly, one missed chalice trigger and resolved Green Sun Zenith, and we're in an entirely different board state.
yep.
And
And yeah, Gustav is at 4 life, so
yeah. So Mikael coming through, smashing for 4 damage.
and he has the
Yeah.
Deathrite as well, if should he need it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that was a interesting game. The
Yeah.
Elves player managed to take it down, and it swung back and forth.
Back
Okay.
and forth many times.
I did not expect that to be a back and forth matchup.
No,
I
actually.
expected one player to just quickly overwhelming the other.
Yeah. The most likely, what we said before, that the Elves would have an edge and play their game, and
Yeah.
But with the possibility that the elf player would stumble and the merfolk player would get an aggression going, and
Oh yes, yes.
but yeah, here
And the Merfolk player did get the aggression going.
he did.
But it wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough.
No. So Elves 1-0, up a game against Merfolk. Post sideboarding, do you think it affects the matchup a lot with Gustav being on the play, given that he plays Chalice?
Yes, I think it does.
Yeah.
Having Chalice in your deck, then you feel so much better when you are on the play.
Yes, yes. Especially against a deck like Elves that's chock full of 1-drops.
Yeah, exactly. I have personally played a lot of lands, the deck lands, and then you can put it one step further in being on the play, having Chalice and Mox Diamond.
Yeah.
So you can play it on turn one. That is, that resolves, it's very powerful against a lot of decks.
Yes. Yeah, the turn 1 Chalice and the mud deck that we saw earlier.
Exactly.
They play a lot of Ancient Tombs and City of Traitors.
True,
so
very true.
Turn 1 Chalice from that deck is quite a real possibility.
Yeah, it is.
So, but Chalice might not be the end-all be-all, given Mikael could possibly have cards like Reclamation Sage or something to deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Mikael plays something like that though. Yes, he actually does. He has access to Reclamation Sage to deal with Chalice, and with the Wirewood Symbiote and other stuff like that, he can recast it again and again to deal with both the Aether Vial and the Chalice, possibly.
Yeah, the longer the game goes, the less effect it has, and the easier it is for the elves to deal with it, or less difficult, should I say.
And I just noticed that Mikael has a really spicy one-off in his main deck even.
Yeah, it's
that I've not seen much of in Legacy before.
I've seen it a few times here and there in this deck, but not always. And
yeah, it's a spicy card, for sure. And there's some good sideboard options. Do you think he'll bring in more removal to deal with the Merfolks?
Now on the draw, yeah, I could see that he takes a more defensive position, bringing in some Abruticus and stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking there are some other cards in his sideboard that might be good.
Yeah, he has some tools there.
Yeah, a few removal spells possibly to deal with Chalice, since he saw Chalice in game 1. Abrupt Decay, I believe, would be coming in against that.
Yeah,
since it can shut down so much from his deck otherwise. And Gustav missing a trigger in game 1 is probably not likely to miss another trigger in the following game.
True. If he knows that he missed it.
Oh yeah, that's very true. He might just have overlooked it completely. But I assume that he feels a bit bad about missing the trigger and are gonna be vigilant about them in the future.
I agree. At one point, I'm sure he realized that he missed it.
Yeah. So he should be vigilant about not missing any more triggers from Chalice, and hoping that he can find one early on in the game to shut down so much from Mikael's deck.
Yeah.
And can he stop the Reclamation Sage after that? Then perhaps he can take this down.
Yeah.
Mikael starting out with a mulligan here, so
all right.
Not a great start for the second game here. Gustav being on the play and keeping his 7, it seems like he's in a good position.
Yeah, that's a good feeling to have.
Perhaps tie out the score here.
Yeah.
I believe we're gonna get some interesting games. So we didn't see any of the combo. Well, we saw one natural order, but it got quickly dealt with.
Yeah.
There's not much other combo pieces that we've seen, really, from these flexible decks. I mean, the Charles, the food chain deck, really didn't combo off all that much.
No.
There was some missed hollow
Griffin
griffins with recursion, but not much.
Wall / beat down.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really amazing to see those griffins attacking and then exiling themselves to recast themselves.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's bending the rules.
Yeah. And Mikael with the turn 1 Soul Ring, as I
Wow.
coined it.
And in addition to that, Gustav with no place turn 1.
Wow.
So
But Gustav having double force of will could stop any combo elements from Mikael.
yeah, that seems good to have.
So given that he has
and he has the chalice as well.
That is huge.
I wonder if he has any threats at all, but loads of disruption at
Wow.
least.
Well, if all the 1-drops are shut down from the Elves deck and he remembers his triggers, then this could end really badly for the Elves player.
It could. One thing to note though is that the great thing with some cards, like Greens on Zenith, is
Yes.
that they are flexible mana cost.
Oh yes.
And with one-offs to deal with artifacts or permanents like this, with the 4 Greens on Zenith, it's much more likely to find it.
Oh yes.
Still
And
not
this is-
trivial, but more likely.
Yeah. Yeah, you can still find your 1-drops if you need them. So if you got the beginning of a combo going, you can find the Greens and Zenith to get the end pieces of that combo going.
Yeah,
Pretty much. So Mikael in a tough position, facing down Chalice for 1 and a True Name Nemesis, which is a really good start for Gustav being on the play here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean he has Force of Wills in hand and
he has the
and Chalice.
Reclamation Sage.
Oh, he has the Sage.
But we know Gustav has the Force of Will, and he's gonna force this, I believe. He could possibly just let it resolve, saving the Force of Wills, because we see that he has another Chalice in hand.
Yeah. And the 2/1 is not gonna threaten him.
No, not when he has a True Name Nemesis in play. So,
And this is interesting as well because there is only one Reclamation Sage in the deck. He has more sideboard cards to deal with Chalice.
yeah.
But the Reclamation Sage must be bounced before it can be used again.
Oh yes. But given that Mikael has... Gustav probably knows that Mikael has brought in the Abrupt case.
Yep.
Don't you think there would be an argument for countering the Reclamation Sage with Force of Will, even though you have the other Chalice?
Yeah, I would. There is definitely an argument.
Yeah.
The-
I think I would probably have done that, just given that it feels safer, and you really don't... When facing down a single Dryad Arbor, I wouldn't be that scared of any combo elements.
No.
Not with double Chalices for 1.
No, I could see that line being very good as well.
Yeah.
Another
Another True Name coming down for Gustav here that makes the clock pretty short. He produces a lot of power on the board here.
Yeah, if he shouldn't be that difficult for him to make this 2-turn clock.
No, any Lord, and this is a 2-turn clock from this point.
Yep.
So Mikael going for the Greens on Zenith for 1. I guess he's gonna find the Symbiote to be able to recast the Reclamation Sage, just hoping that he gets enough time to perhaps combo off in a later turn. But Gustav with a double Force of Will is probably countering this one.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think I would with the mana left to Mikael.
You could possibly counter the Reclamation Sage when it comes back into play. But
It feels
Yeah.
like I think Gustav smells a symbiote, and a symbiote can have interactions with a visionary as well. If
Yeah.
should Mikael draw one or play one,
yes,
but he opts to save it for a more, one could say, final threat.
Yeah.
A symbiote, but or a ranger. Perhaps that is.
Oh, so he picks the ranger to generate mana, I guess. Wow.
Yeah, he does.
Right. So
Okay.
he wants to generate mana first, and then
Is he playing another one? Thoughts is. Okay, he tries his opponent,
Yeah.
but this time, Gustav, no.
Now he's done the mistake once and never again.
You can have one for free, but no more.
And Mikael trying another one, but no.
I'm sure they are laughing a little bit right now.
Yeah, Mikael knows it's more or less futile, given that Gustav knows Mikael's tendencies to just try to go for it. But, well, you gotta try anyway. And a Lord of Atlantis is exactly what he needed to turn this into a 2-turn clock. Mikael might be willing to just concede pretty soon, I believe. But he's gonna play it out. He's gonna make sure his opponent doesn't make any more mistakes or so
Yeah.
before letting this game go. Double True Name Nemesis with the Lord of Atlantis in play is not an easy board to deal with, though. Not when you can't really use any of your spells.
What does he need here?
I think he needs an Abrupt Decay to start with.
Probably a cradle.
And a Cradle, yeah. And yeah, keeps on trying.
Well, there's no
Got it.
shame in that.
No, you gotta go for it. But, well... So there's
There
the
is
Cradle.
the cradle.
Right, and he untaps the Dryad Arbor to generate even more mana. 4, 5, 6, 4. I believe he has 1 mana floating. Plays the natural order, and that's enough for Mikael. So that was a really good game.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. If that natural order had resolved, or if that Green Sun Zenith after the Quirion Dryad had resolved, had been countered,
Yeah.
we might have seen an entirely different game.
Yeah, it
Because
was.
That was really well played by Gustav, not wasting his force of will on unimportant threats,
Yeah.
because that natural order would have been game breaking.
Yeah, it would. That's very true. But the combination of non-interactable threat, 2 of them with triple disruption. That's very powerful.
That is very powerful, and it's usually what the Delver type strategy thrives on. But it has efficient threats and a lot of disruption. But we can see here that Merfolk, being slightly slower, having slightly different disruption, is just as effective when your threats are basically impossible to deal with. So really well played by Gustav there, and really well executed, keeping that force of will in his hand until he really needed it to stop that natural order. So that was really well played, and I believe that Mikael on the play here, the Chalice is not as big of a threat, but
Not as big, but since Elves contains so many 1-drops, it's still very good.
Oh yes, for sure. But being able to produce most of the 1-drops you've drawn on your first and second turn
Yeah.
before the chalice has a chance to come down
And
is really really good.
now Mikael has the option to play 3 1-drops or something if he has them and wants to.
Yes. So yeah, and I believe that's very important for the Elves deck to come out quickly with his 1-drops, both to avoid the chalice and present enough of a board presence, both mana-wise and power-wise, to the Merfolk player, to make sure that the Merfolk player need to react to what you're doing rather than the other way around.
Yeah, very true.
But we're gonna see how this shapes up. If one of them stumbles a bit too much, this might not be very interesting, but I believe True Name Nemesis is a difficult card to deal with, but you often come around, you play around that card with your other spells, just going over it basically.
Yeah, a deck like Elves can't deal with it to remove it from the board, but it can, if not otherwise disrupted, easily overwhelm
Yeah.
the Merfolk deck.
Yeah, and True Name is a card that you don't really care about as an Elves player.
No.
Because once you get your Crater Hoof or, well, other finishing blow,
It isn't
you
as
generate so much to the board that a single creature, it could have been like, yeah, you don't really care about it.
no. True Name is very good at blocking in general, but not blocking big trampling creatures.
Exactly. Huge trampling creatures when you only have 1 toughness.
Yeah.
That's not that great. It's a great card in general, but it's better suited for more of the fair matchups whether your opponent is trying to deal with your stuff,
Yeah.
as we saw in the Bant versus Miracle match earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
True Name was well suited for that match, but here, well, it finished the game, but, well, pretty much any threat could have finished this game.
It could. The unblockability of True Name is quite relevant since Mikael doesn't have any islands.
For
But
sure. For sure.
but still, if Mikael needs to start jumping too much, perhaps that situation is pretty bad anyway. Not necessarily, but it could be.
Yeah. So, both of the players here taking mulligans and hoping to find something better with their 6-card hands. We're gonna see if they opt to keep them or ship them back for something better. I believe Gustav is pondering his options here, but he decides to keep it, and Mikael is off to the races. Yeah, I guess that Mikael will have a turn 1 play here, but we don't really see it yet. Starts out with the Thoughtseize. And we see 2 Mutavaults, Silvergill Adept, and what are those other cards? And Phantasmal Image, I believe.
I have a hard time seeing. Oh, there.
Oh, Caven Mutavault, Phantasmal Image, Curse Catcher, and
what is that?
Is that an island just?
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's an island.
So it seems like the typical Merfolk hand. You have some creatures
Some
and
fish
some lands.
and some lands.
Some fish and lands, yeah. It's a good meal. You get to travel and you get to eat.
Yeah, all you need.
Yeah. So, taking the Curse Catcher there, even though making the Silvergill Adept a bit awkward, I guess.
Yeah, that was interesting, taking the Curse Catcher.
Yeah, he could have just...
A follow-up Thoughtseize or something?
Yeah, or possibly Greens Unseen
Greens
that you
Unseen.
want to play, or something like that.
Yeah. Curse Catcher, if he wants to thought this, he can play around it, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Uh,
I can see that. Like
yeah.
you said, a Green Sun or something.
Or just want to resolve a natural order on the later turn with a tight mana hand himself.
Mm.
Though I believe when you see that hand from your opponent that you're not really in a rush to resolve something like that, because the hand of Gustav was not that fast. And he'd drawn an Aethervial, but turn 2 Aethervial is quite a lot worse than the turn 1 Aethervial.
It is. It's
It makes a huge difference these early turns in the game, and something so basic as a turn 1 or turn 2 play can make a huge difference.
yeah, the awkward thing if you draw it on your second turn and you have a 2-drop.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. And the Aethervial becomes so much worse the longer the game goes.
Yeah.
But you at the same time want to curve out and play your 2-drop on turn 2, most cases.
Yeah.
I believe it's most often correct to just play the Aethervial, since it generates a 2-drop for free on a later turn.
I believe so too, and then you could at least get the small advantage of representing something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Aethervial for one here actually represents a Curse Catcher.
Yeah.
Which is something to keep in consideration, because even though you know that you took a Curse Catcher earlier on in the game, there's still some unknown card, I believe, in Gustav's hand. So you need to keep a lot of stuff like that in consideration when you play a deck against deck with Aethervial.
That is a very interesting, fun aspect of Magic.
Yeah.
That when cards that aren't in play affect the game heavily.
Oh yeah.
Just because of the threat of them.
Yeah, and when you play against hidden information, you need to assume a lot of the stuff that could happen and try to make the best out of the situation.
Yeah.
Oh, and here we see Mikael resolving a natural order on turn 3, 4, I believe. Sacrificing a Dryad Arbor. Is he possibly gonna get the Crater Roof and just attack for damage, or
maybe it's a spicy
no?
one.
It's
what's that?
That's the Progenitus.
Yeah, that's the Progenitus from the board.
Wow. So that's
that's
game ending in a few turns.
That's like saying to True Name, boy, I'm your daddy.
Yeah, that's truly True Name's daddy. The Progenitus is the first with a really widespread protection clause.
Yeah. A bit comical, but still
having protection from everything.
Yeah.
That's you can't get much more than that, really.
No.
So Gustav facing lethal in 2 attack steps. That's he needs to find something to deal with this, and I'm not sure if the Merfolk deck has anything to deal with the Progenitus in play. I think he just might be out of it. But yeah, do you see what he has in hand?
No, I don't.
He has the Phantasmal Image.
Ah.
So he can copy the Progenitus and deal lethal to Mikael in 2 turns. 3 from True Name Nemesis this turn, and 13 the next turn.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is really cool, actually. So Gustav might just be able to copy the Progenitus and find lethal in a short time span here.
What do you think Gustav is thinking about now? I don't know all the contents of his hand, but
I believe he's thinking about the second natural order.
All right. Yeah.
Possibly. And saving that Phantasmal Image for that eventuality. And possibly a Glimpse also.
Yeah.
But some sort of combo element. But I would assume that Phantasmal Image should just be played straight up here. And copying the Progenitus and dealing lethal in 2 turns here together with the True Name Nemesis.
Yeah. And the nice thing is that if everything goes according to plan, then he develops it in the end of his opponent's turn, just hits for lethal.
Oh yeah. That's very true. With the Aid Vial on 2 and the Phantasmal Image.
If he wants to use the vial on that.
Yeah. And it seems like a great option to use the vial for something like that.
And here's a Chalice.
Chalice for 1.
There's a thumbs up.
Yep.
Somewhat.
And the True Name attacks for 3, putting Mikael to 13. And that spells lethal in 2 turns. The next turn even.
Yeah.
So we do not have a backup match after this game. So after this is done, we're probably gonna go into a short break and be back with round 5 after that.
Oh, round 5 already.
Yeah, it's gone
Time
by.
flies.
It's gone by so quickly, but this is actually round 4.
Yeah.
Does not feel like it, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Progenitus coming down for 10 damage, and Phantasmal Image
Hello.
copying the Progenitus. Oh yes, he saw the line of play,
And taps.
played it perfectly,
Mikael
draws a card,
can just. Or
swings for lethal, I guess.
Mikael tries to look as menacing as possible.
Yep. But waiting to play to make sure that Gustav plays it out,
And he found a force of will there, which
yeah.
is
Mikael extends the hand, and that was really cool to see the Phantasmal Image copying the Progenitus.
yeah, because that game
That switched from back to forth in a heartbeat,
Yeah,
and then back again.
it really did.
Wow.
In the beginning there, it seemed like the Merfolk player was just out of place and didn't have time to close the deal.
Yeah, but that really shows the power of the Merfolk deck.
Yeah.
Being able to, with cards like Phantasmal Image, being so flexible that they can both act as great threats from your own deck, as copying True Name Nemesis, as we saw earlier, and copying the effects of your opponent. If you had played something like an Emrakul or Griselbrand or so, that would be great to copy as well.
Yeah.
And with Aid the Vial, you can do it in instant speed, surprise your opponent.
It's
It's really
awesome.
great.
Yes,
It's awesome to see. And it's what's so great about this format, to be honest. It's
Yeah, that can enable stuff like that, because when you were younger and just played casual, then you knew that well, clone, that is a very good card, but to have it to do anything, there must be something else in play.
yeah,
And here you both have a much cheaper clone, cheap threats of your own that you can copy that also get better the more they are. And
Exactly.
there's the possibility that your opponent has something nice to copy as well.
so it's a great flexible card for the Merfolk deck. It does really offer up a lot of depth to the deck in general.
Yeah.
So really well played, well executed, and a fun lethal, I have to say.
Fun ending of this match.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't agree more. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
So we're gonna go into break now, and we'll be back with round 5 in just